I got it. It's working. Okay, so you guys everyone needs to pair up with a partner and get a piece of graph paper. I know, I'm telling you.
I just told you.
Okay, so you weren't listening. No. And you need to have a piece of graph paper, and we're going to do a little thing together to help you see better why you have the number of cut tiles that you have. Most of you get the surface area. I'm going to go through that real quick though once before we start, especially for those people who weren't here. So those of you who haven't been here, weren't here yesterday, make sure you read the problem. Okay? And I'm just going to read it over again real quickly. It says, Teresa is going to put down new ceramic tiles on her bathroom floor. She has selected square tiles that are 4 inches on each side. These are the kind of tiles that can be placed right next to each other without leaving additional space between them for grout. At the home station, she learned how to cut the tiles in case she needs any fractional pieces to cover her floor completely. Question, how many tiles will she need to buy to cover the floor? How many tiles will she have to cut in order to cover? Okay, most of you did a great job yesterday of dividing this irregular figure up, just like we normally do. And some of you divided it this way. You put your line right there. And some of you divided it this way. It really doesn't matter which way you do it. Okay? And when you get this total, get this area and this area, you have to add them together to figure out the total square inches. Okay? Right now we're only figuring square inches because we've got inches as our label. So, when we find the area of this one, what do we do? What did you do to find the area of this top rectangle? Yep, 28 inches times 60 inches. And I don't care, you all can get the answers to that. I just want to kind of go over how we do it. Now down here, we've got another rectangle. And what some of you got mixed up on yesterday, if you divided it like this, you made this whole side, or this side right here, 60 when it's this whole side. Okay, so if we need just this side, we have to look over here, and that's 28. So what's this over here? Go ahead, you can say it. You can talk. 28. Okay, so if this is 28, we got to figure out what this is down here, so we have to subtract 28, and so we get 32. Thank you. 32 inches. So how do we find the area of this now? Corinne? Right, 32 inches times 42 inches. And again, your answer is going to be in inches squared for both of these. Then how did you turn this into the number of tiles you need? Yes?
After you add up the two areas, you divide by the area of the square.
Exactly. You have to divide. Some of you wanted to divide by 4 because we had a tile that's 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay? But this is in inches squared once you get the total square footage or area. So you have to know that you have to know how many square inches is in this so you can divide it up into this kind of a tile. How many square inches is in this tile?
16.
16. We've got 4 this way and 4 this way. And if you count those up, it's 16, or you can just do 4 times 4, which is 16 square inches. All right, and then you want to see how many fit in there, so you have to take the total number of these and divide it up by 16 to see the number. Okay, and you guys know how to do that. What was the answer?
Like 189.
Yeah, like
189 square inches. Okay? Now, if you did it over here, I'm not going to go through this one, but you could do this area and this area and find those two areas, and it's going to be and add them up, and it's going to be the same sum as this. And then again, you would divide it by 16 square inches, and you would find out how many square inches of tiles are in that. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So now that you know how many tiles, and most of you already knew that anyway, most of you got that yesterday, remember that that has to be listed over here on the final solution side. When you turn your paper in tomorrow, we want to see that work right here. Show all your work. Okay? And tell us what you're doing here. I'm finding the area of this, finding the area of this. If you want to color code it, however you want to do that, but you need to show each step. Doing this, add them together, dividing by 16, getting your total. Okay? Then we need to know how many tiles have been cut. And that's why you have your graph paper. Okay? So what we want you to do on your graph paper is each square on your graph paper is going to be a 4-inch tile, 4-inch by 4-inch square tile. Okay, so each one of those counts as a tile. And what we want you to do, okay, if one of these is 4 inches on a side, we want you to actually make this picture on your graph paper. Okay? So before we start, tell me if this is 42 inches down here, how many of these squares are you going to need along this bottom side of your bathroom? There's 4 inches on a side, and you're going to, each one of these is going to be a square on your graph paper. How many squares is that going to take? Cameron?
There's going to be 10. There's 10 that fit into it equally, but there's going to be some that's
10.5.
Yes, 10 fit into it evenly. Do you see that? How did you know 10 fit into it evenly if it was 42?
Because 4 times 10 equals 40.
Okay, 4 times 10 is equal to 40. So there's 40 of the inches. Okay, so we're going to need 10 of them at 4 inches, and that'll take up 40 of these inches, and then we have 2 inches left because it was 42. So that's half a square. Okay, so when you go over to the last one, you got to use only a half a square, and then go ahead and make the other side halfway up. But see if you can surround enough squares to get 42 inches here, 60 here, 60 here, 28 here, and whatever you need on these two. Go.
If each square counts for 4 inches, you're going to be counting by 4s to count the units.
Yeah.
And then upload
And then-
that and then
yeah,
do the little
yeah.
lesson.